Hey guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another Retro RPG. It's not another week, and it's not another poll, because last week I put up the poll where I would make videos on the top two things. But you guys tricked me by making it a tie for second position, because I could have easily made two videos if the first playlist died. But with a tie for second position, I've had to make three this week. So this is the second one, where we'll be covering the Mechanoids Sourcebook for Rifts. Now we'll be going over to the desktop and having a look at that in a wee second. And as usual, I'll be back at the end of the video with some other channel-related stuff and some other poll-related stuff. But before I do that, I'd like to take a moment to talk about my Patreons, who are wonderful, wonderful people who make all of this possible. So I'd like to thank them from the absolute bottom of my heart. Their efforts are very much appreciated. Now, if you'd like to join them to help support the channel, or you'd like to see these videos a week early, or you'd like to see some Patreon-only exclusive videos I put up over there, then there's a Patreon in the description down below. If you check it out, it'd be very much appreciated. But anyway, let's have a look at the Mechanoids Sourcebook. So, this is the Mechanoids Rifts Sourcebook 2. For Rifts, funnily enough, came out from Palladium Books in 1992. And it's a sourcebook containing the Mechanoids from an earlier Palladium Books game called the Mechanoids. But they're kind of stripped down, wherein the Mechanoids game you actually played in their world as different types of Mechanoids themselves, from my understanding. This, they are included as just villains. They are artificial creatures, I won't call them robots, although they do have robotic bodies, who are extremely hostile to humankind, to bipeds, basically. They absolutely hate their creators, who looked very human. And when I first saw this book, I saw this cover image and I thought these were like Terminators. They've got the skull-like face, they're robotic bodies, and I was very confused because Rifts already has the Skeleborts working for the Coalition. So they've already got Terminators, basically. Why were they including more? But as I read through the book, I discovered the Mechanoids are so much more than that. Because while this is perhaps the most famous body, all of these others in this image, and far, far more, are other bodies that they use. So we've got aircraft ones, we've got runners, I believe those are called, and many, many more. But we can see that they're fighting the Coalition. There's a skull walker there in the background. The book itself is a campaign. It's not really just a source book detailing out the Mechanoids and their background and the different forms, but it does do that. It also introduces how they entered the world, what's happening with them, and who's fighting them. So the games master and the players can get involved in a campaign involving the Mechanoids' incursions into the Rifts world. Now, I'm saying a lot here because the back cover, as many Palladium books are, just details what's in it. New character sheets, over 20 Mechanoids and their bots, optional Mechanoid player characters, new creations from Archie 3 and Hagan, plus more history and insight about the unlikely duo, Hagan Lonovich, a hero, adventures, adventure ideas, and tons of non-stop action, plus ominous warnings of dangers to come, 112 pages, a supplement for Rifts, compatible with Palladium, Heroes Unlimited, Beyond the Supernatural, TMNT, Ninjas and Supersize, and others in the Palladium Megaverse. It's a weird yellow colour. I would have expected a book about such a threat to be much darker. So, we've got the warning, violence and the supernatural, as Palladium books tend to do in all of their source books, warning you that while it's filled with monsters, this is just fantasy. They do not condone or encourage the occult, practice of magic, use of drugs, genocide, or violence. As always, the artwork is absolutely lovely. We've got a wee dedication there, but we're going straight into some lovely, lovely artwork. This is the joy of Rifts books to me, that the artwork gets your creative juices going long before. You know, who could not want to put something massive like this, all these claws, weapons, into the player characters? You can just think of different ways to describe, you know, these artificial eyes focusing in on you as a hand comes round, a massive claw as it attacks you with this large cannon, obviously with a large ammunition hopper on it. Great, great stuff. You can get imagination going just from these artwork, and the books are absolutely filled with it. You've got a table of contents, quick find, so you can find stats and information. A word about the Mechanoids. Old-time fans and collectors may remember the original Mechanoid Invasion trilogy printed back in 1981 and 1982. So it talks about how they're different in Rifts. A brief aside about Rifts Atlantis. The Mechanoid Invasion, premonitions of a dangerous future. And it's got some predictions of danger. Talks about the coalition states, how they're going to face off against it. The minions of Atlantis. Doomsday cults, really fleshing out the world a lot here. A Neuron Beast, again, very interesting illustration. Nigel the Night Stalker Dragon, showing that, as always, Palladium can be a bit silly when they want to be. We've got Archie 3 and Hagan, so an artificial intelligence. And the man that follows it. So the bad situation, as they accidentally are experimenting with somebody who creates rifts, and they bring in the Mechanoids. And they suddenly find themselves in the middle of an invasion. Hagan's secret weapons. So he's got a set of powered armor he's using. He's suddenly become a warrior, where he is a bit of a villainous character. He has his own plans to take over the world. But in this case, he needs the world to be safe from the Mechanoids, so he can take it over later. Earthsaver 1, his personal combat bot. A massive mecha. Very, very cool looking. With a sort of observation tower behind it, so it can see over things. I like that as a little addition. The AA-60 Hunter Destroyer, Hagan's robot minions. Now these look very, very nice. That spike reminds me of the one that Robocop lets out. But they are blades. Hunter-Killer Terminators. And then we're on to the section of the Mechanoids after going through the stats for that. Detailing their background, how they were created, and what happened. And then we've got Games Master options, so good guy Mechanoids. You know, we've got aberrant ones, which might have separated, including a brain. As we can see, the Mechanoids themselves, while they have robot bodies, they are almost organic inside, but they are artificially created. Runners, as we saw on the cover. Mechanoid wasps. Brutes. Exterminators, which look a bit silly, they're not quite as cool, but it shows the mechanoid organism inside. Seeker pods, tunnel crawlers, mechanoid overlords. Very well illustrated, flying around on sort of jets. Oracles, mechanoid brains. Multi-brain combat vehicle. You can see the space for the brains where they're integrated into it. A large sort of hover tank device. Mechanoid runners. Type 1 brutes. Absolutely massive combat vehicles. We've got the wasps detailed out more. Exterminators. Seeker pods, much smaller devices. Tunnel crawlers. Octopus, laid out, very detailed technical illustration. That creature we saw on the introduction page. We've got mechanoid robots, so the Mockmen, the Thin Men and Runt robots. So the Thin Man's the very obvious Terminator ripoff, although this looks a lot bigger and more dangerous. And then we've got the Brutes, which are actually much smaller. Runt combat robots. Runt repair units, assault probes, skimmers, weevils, small circular robots, the hierarchy and population percentage, laying that out, mechanoid spider fortress, and we've got massively detailed out their bases, illustrations showing where everything's stored, how many mechanoids are within it, along with all the stats for it. We've got mechanoid technology, their computers, their computer brains. Mechanoids themselves, a digger without the body armor and with the body armor, detailing out, you know, plasma generators, the claws, digger claws. And then we're on to adventures, with a lovely illustration of a glitter boy. with his boom gun having just fired. We can see that the big bolts have shot down into the ground. Fantastic illustration. And we've got a few adventures. So we've got Nightmare Begins with the map, Evil Among Humans, Liberty, The Factory, and a bunch of other adventure ideas. The Mechanoid God, The Torturer, The Secret. Brute equipped with 2 plasma cannons, both of a different styling. Random encounters, random wilderness encounters. And then we've got Coalition OCC character sheet, Magic OCC character sheet, Fighter OCC sheet, a blank OCC sheet, a page for psionics, and a page for spells. So this is very early on in Rifts, so they're still giving you lots and lots of information out, but so much in that book. It's very cool because the Mechanoids, while on their first appearance, look very, very uninteresting. They're just another force which are coming through the rifts and trying to invade. There's so much background information in here which makes them more interesting in other ways. A great, great book. So that was the Mechanoid Sourcebook, and that tied for second place in the poll this week with the US Army Vehicle Guide on 27%, only 1% behind the winner, which was the Darklands Sourcebook on 28%. In fact, the only thing I'm not making this week is the Arcane Mysteries of Bar Save Sourcebook for Earthdawn, which came in on only 18%. Sad, because I really like Earthdawn, it's one of my favourite fantasy settings. Now, there's no new poll for me to discuss yet, but that will appear on Friday's video. What I also been up to? Well, over on DriveThruRPG, I've been releasing some 5th edition espionage classes, where you can play spies, James Bond, that kind of stuff. I thought it was quite an interesting setting to go for in the range that I've been putting up. Also over on RPG Gamer, well, I'm still covering Legacy comics and I'm still covering Andor, although my trip away has meant I've fallen a bit behind and I haven't had a chance to do Tales of the Underworld yet, but we'll get around to it. If you'd like to check them out, then go over to RPG Gamer, check it out. There'll be a link down below for that and DriveThruRPG and the Patreon and everything. So if you do that, it'd be very much appreciated. But anyway, I've been wittering on for quite long enough, so thank you very much for watching. As always, most of all, you look after yourselves. And I'll catch you later. Bye now.